Hey everyone, and welcome to this Masterclass Explainer. Today we're diving headfirst into one of the most absolutely wild conservation experiments of the entire 21st century, the India Cheetah Conservation Blueprint for 2026. Whether you're a hardcore conservation fan, a UPSC student prepping for exams, or just someone who's super fascinated by how we're literally trying to rewind the ecological clock, well, you're in the right place. We are going to do a direct, straightforward walkthrough of the entire blueprint, giving you exactly the structured facts you need.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with project origins and status, move into the translocation pipeline, then achievements and ecological goals, followed by scientific challenges ahead. After that, we'll hit strategy and success metrics, and finally, wrap up with exam prep and a quick conclusion. We're going to methodically break down all of this for you.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, Project Origins and its current status.
So to really grasp where this project is heading, we first need to look at the reality on the ground right now. 53. As of the latest official update on May 19, 2026, there are exactly 53 cheetahs in India. But honestly, here is the truly incredible part of that stat. 33 of those cheetahs were actually born right there on Indian soil. That includes a massive milestone from March 2026 when a Namibian cheetah named Jwala gave birth to 5 cubs. That was the 10th successful cheetah litter in the country. This number isn't just a statistic, it represents a massive initial triumph.
But, we really have to contrast that recent triumph with the incredibly sobering history. See, the cheetah was once found all across India, but thanks to severe habitat loss and capture for royal coursing, where they were literally used as hunting pets, the last widely accepted wild cheetahs were killed back in 1947. By 1952, the species was officially declared extinct in India. It actually holds the pretty tragic title of being the only large carnivorous mammal known to have gone extinct in independent India.
Which brings us to Section 2, the Translocation pipeline. Because, as you can imagine, reversing an extinction takes some unprecedented scientific logistics.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that reversing a 70-year extinction isn't just about dropping some cats into a park. It requires some highly specific biological decisions. The cheetah historically found in India was the Asiatic cheetah. But today, only a tiny, critically endangered remnant of that subspecies survives in Iran, so they just weren't available. Instead, India sourced the southern African cheetah, which is listed as vulnerable, from Namibia, South Africa, and Botswana. So we are essentially restoring an ecological role using a slightly different substitute subspecies.
And because we're using that substitute Southern African taxon, scientifically speaking, this isn't technically a simple reintroduction. If we're being precise, and this is great for UPSC aspirants to note, it's an intercontinental conservation translocation. That basically means the deliberate movement of an ecological substitute to restore a lost conservation role.
Just take a look at the timeline of this massive effort. Notice that giant 68-year gap from the Extinction Declaration in 1952 all the way to January 2020. That's when the Supreme Court finally gave the green light for this experimental introduction. Fast forward to September 2022, and the first 8 cheetahs touched down from Namibia. More arrived from South Africa in 2023, and most recently, in February 2026, 9 more cheetahs arrived from Botswana, which brings our total population up to that magic number of 53.
So, out of everywhere in India, why Kuno National Park in Madhya Pradesh? Well, Kuno offers a 748 square kilometer core area that sits within a much larger 6,800 square kilometer forested landscape. It's basically a perfect match for the cheetah's preferred mosaic habitat, dry deciduous forest, grassland, and scrub. Plus, it has an excellent prey base. Think chital, sambar, nilgai, and wild pig. And crucially, years of prior conservation investment and village relocations had already taken place there, clearing the way. Initial official estimates actually place Kuno's carrying capacity at about 21 free-ranging cheetahs.
But getting a cheetah to Kuno? That is a grueling, multi-stage journey. It starts all the way over in Africa with careful selection and rigorous disease screening, followed by international transport in specialized crates. Once they land in India, they definitely don't just run free right away. They enter strict quarantine and then acclimation in larger enclosures called bomas. After that, they undergo a soft release while being tracked 24/7 with telemetry. And that final step, adaptive management, is absolutely vital. If a cheetah is ever at risk out there, the teams will literally step in, recapture, and treat them.
All right, moving on to Section 3, Achievements and Ecological Goals. Let's look at what this project is actually trying to do.
So, what does all this massive logistical effort actually aim to achieve? This is super important to understand. This project is not just about placing a charismatic, good-looking cat in a park. The cheetah is a flagship species. The real overarching goal here is to restore India's neglected, open ecosystems. We're talking about the grasslands and savannas that are way too often wrongly dismissed as just wastelands. By bringing back a top predator, the aim is to restore the whole ecological balance, support other associated species like the Indian wolf and the caracal, and even boost local livelihoods through ecotourism. And the good news? We are already seeing some highly encouraging early wins. Beyond those 10 successful litters and 33 India-born cubs we talked about, India has rapidly developed some seriously specialized veterinary capacity for cheetah handling. We've built strong international partnerships and rolled out advanced radio telemetry monitoring systems. But honestly, most importantly, national attention is finally turning toward grassland conservation. Now, a quick word of caution here. We have to remember these are just intermediate milestones. They are fantastic, but they aren't proof of long-term self-sustainability just yet.
And that transitions us perfectly into Section 4, Scientific Challenges Ahead. Let's look at the hurdles. So, the crucial point here is that we have to look realistically at the darker, much more difficult side of this blueprint. This founder population is facing some really harsh biological realities. Translocation inherently carries huge mortality risks, both from the move itself and natural causes. There are also massive questions about space and dispersal as these wide-ranging cats start moving outside the protected boundaries. Plus, they face fluctuating prey levels, stiff competition from established larger carnivores like leopards and wolves, and the intense physical challenge of adapting to the humid Indian monsoon and local parasites. It is a very different world from their African home.
And alongside those biological threats, there are deep community and welfare concerns we have to navigate. A small, isolated population faces a severe risk of inbreeding and loss of genetic diversity. Then there's the reality of human-wildlife interaction. Dispersing cheetahs might easily wander into pastoral lands, which risks livestock loss and creates conflict with local communities. Furthermore, the blueprint heavily stresses animal welfare. The sheer stress of long transport, the repeated immobilization for treatments, and this high dependence on intensive human management and enclosures, it's an incredibly delicate ethical balance that has to be managed perfectly.
Let's pivot to Section 5, Strategy and Success Metrics, to see the overarching master plan.
So how exactly does the government plan to navigate all these massive challenges? Well, the long-term vision isn't just to confine every single cheetah to Kuno forever. The blueprint relies on a meta-population strategy. Basically, this means managing separate but connected populations. The plan actively incorporates the Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary, aiming to create a combined landscape of roughly 9,000 square kilometers. Over time, through ecological restoration, the ultimate goal is to manage about 60 to 70 cheetahs across this vast landscape, transferring them back and forth as needed to maintain their demographic and genetic health. Which begs an absolutely essential question. How should true conservation success actually be measured? The blueprint is crystal clear on this. True success is not one birth, it's not one surviving adult, and it's definitely not a single press release. True success is going to be measured by multi-generational survival. It's cheetahs independently hunting wild prey, maintaining genetic diversity, and establishing a robust population that requires progressively less and less intensive human intervention over many, many years.
All right, bringing it home with Section 6, Exam Prep and Conclusion.
We've covered the science, we've covered the strategy, so now let's lock in some high-yield facts for those of you prepping for exams. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what you need to know, so you might want to screenshot this right now. Remember, the scientific name is Acinonyx jubatus. The IUCN status is vulnerable, with a decreasing trend. It falls under CITES Appendix I. The source countries to remember are Namibia, South Africa, and Botswana, and the key Indian sites are Kuno National Park and the upcoming Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary. I want to leave you today with a really powerful quote straight from the blueprint. It says, Project Cheetah should be evaluated as a landscape restoration program rather than merely as a species translocation exercise. I think that perfectly summarizes everything we've talked about today. The cheetah is essentially a tool, a magnificent lightning-fast tool used to heal a broken ecosystem. So as this project unfolds, we are left with one critical question. Will this unprecedented massive logistical master plan ultimately just sustain a few captive cats in fenced enclosures, or will it successfully resurrect India's forgotten grasslands for generations to come? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.